What's going on, everybody? I'm John at Opinion Sports, and it's that time of year, folks. Mock draft time. So I kicked on the simulator, and I got to work. I definitely could have picked some much better prospects in each round. It's kind of hard to take the simulator serious when players like David Ajabo is still on the board at pick 36, so I avoided nonsense picks like that, but let's take a peek at some of my picks. With the 5th pick in the first round, I took Charles Cross. Evan Neal was off the board, and I might have reached a little bit here, but I wasn't coming out of this first round, these first 2 picks, without one of these 2 top tackles. Charles Cross isn't a run mauler, but he is a consistent tackle you can rely on. He's the best pass protector in this entire class. The Giants need O-linemen right now that can plug in and play day one, and I'm comfortable with Charles Cross starting at right tackle day one for the New York Giants. Now, over time, Cross is going to have to put on some weight, and get some muscle, but I love his fundamentals, his feet, all of it. With the 7th pick, I was in a mental struggle. I wanted to take David Ajabo really bad. It was hard to pass on him. Linderbaum went 4th overall, so I just broke down and decided to take Uconn, the baddest motherfucker in the draft. So with both tackles in place, I decided a guard like Uconn could really come in and pick up some slack for Charles Cross's mediocre run blocking. And listen, someone like Uconn can step in the offense and instantly change the mentality in the offensive line. He's going to bring a killer mentality, high effort, and should be a top 10 offensive guard in the NFL day one. So with the first 2 picks, the Giants have just completed the right side of their offensive line. On to the second round, I knew I was taking an edge rusher here. David Ajabo was still on the board, but I felt that would have been a little cheesy. Jermaine Johnson was there, but after the Senior Bowl, he'll be gone probably in the teens of the first round. So I decided to go with Myjai Sanders. He's not from a fancy school, so he gets overlooked. And the edge class this year is stacked, but I'm a believer in Myjai. First off, he has great length and burst, and I've always preached on my channel, speed to power is the most important thing for these edge guys, and Myjai, he has that for days. And he's also got a frame that will allow him to add more weight. He's not the bendiest guy, he's a tad bit stiff in his hips, but this guy's tape is impressive. If I needed an edge rusher, and I was a team sitting in the end of the first round, I'd have to really sit and think hard. The 3rd round, I could have went in pretty much any direction. I decided to draft a lesser talked about prospect. I went with Chad Mumma, linebacker out of Wyoming. I think he's going to develop into a high level middle linebacker. He's just a tackle machine. If Blake Martinez is cut or traded, I think he could fill in nicely. If Blake's on a team, these 2 guys together, oh my God, forget about it. It's a wrap. This dude is a thumper, maybe the smartest linebacker in this year's draft. His awareness and play diagnosing is fucking impressive. Now, he doesn't have that high-end athleticism, but I think he's so smart, his mind will overcome any kind of shortcomings he might have. The guy's just going to be where he's supposed to be on the field. He don't miss really any tackles. He's a wrap-up tackler. Love his length as well. That will help him adjust to the NFL. His pass coverage won't be a glaring weakness as well. I trust him to cover his guy. He's very good in the zone. Listen, he's a dog. And Giants fans been saying, we need more dogs on this team. Bring this man to New York, period. So at round 3, pick 80, I chose Jeremy Ruckert. Jake Ferguson went 2 picks before 80, so I was a bit disappointed. But I think you're still getting a pretty good tight end in Jeremy Ruckert. He was severely underutilized in Ohio State, but this kid took advantage of every chance he got. First off, he did a great job sealing the edge, so I think he can be a really good run blocker. Not the best, but really good. His pass catching is what really interests me. I think he could be a great security blanket for Daniel Jones. And this dude is capable of making ridiculous one-handed catches. He's just one of those guys that can get himself wide open. You don't even know how they get that open. I like his measurables, his speed, and he showed a nose for the end zone. So maybe Jeremy Ruckert could become that end zone target that Kyle Rudolph was brought in to be, because we know he's gone. But with the 109th pick in the 4th round, I chose big man Travis Jones, defensive tackle from Uconn. This dude will be the plug up the middle on the Giants defensive line. He eats up double teams, and he is just hard to move. He's not just a big guy, though. He's got a motor that just never stops. He's always working, and he can actually shed blocks, too, and do a little bit of pass rushing that you wouldn't expect. I think he could do really well filling in that Dalvin Tomlinson's role, be his replacement. I just think he'd be a great fit, to Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. I had to get me at least one of these huge guys in this draft. Loved this kid, and he put in some work at the Senior Bowl. I think he opened some eyes. So with pick 145 in the 5th round, I chose Verone McKinley, safety from Oregon. I chose Verone because he is a playmaker. He gets tons of tipped interceptions, fumbles. He just has a nose for the ball. He's always looking to strip ball carriers. He's got that Peanut Tillman punch in his bag. He's a pretty good tackler. I've heard people say he's not the greatest tackler. I like his tackling ability, but I just overall love his instincts for the game. He's a high IQ football player. I think you bring this guy in to just get the ball back to the offense. He's a turnover machine. McKinley doesn't have elite athleticism, but it's plenty enough for him to play some man coverage, and he can be used to cover, all the underneath stuff. Just line this dude up next to Xavier McKinney, and you have two guys who you must be wary of if you're a quarterback. It's easily possible that McKinley is gone in real life at this point, but I saw the opportunity to get this steal in my draft. With the 170th pick in the 6th round, I chose Jelani Woods, tight end out of Virginia. Now, you might be thinking, you just ruined this mock draft. Oh no, this dude is a monster. First off, he'll be the best inline blocking tight end we've had for a while. But I think you can use him on play action, deep route concepts as well. He's not the fastest guy due to being 265 pounds, but he's got some top end speed. When he gets going, he's a long strider and his hands are good too. I liked him. He's going to have to work on his route running, but he's got huge hands, and I could see him developing into a tight end that can win on jump balls, and he will just fuck you up at the line of scrimmage. He's got a little bit of Brand Jacobs in him. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. He's a developmental guy with huge upside, in my opinion. He could be a special player someday. Definitely worth a shot at the 6th round. And with the Giants' last pick 182, I chose Marquise Hayes, guard out of Oklahoma. There was a few guys I liked towards the end of the draft at O-line, but the Giants could really use some depth at guard. But Marquise is a big-ass dude. Like, I see him listed at 330 pounds in some places, 320 in others, and it seems like that 320 to 330 is the sweet spot for guards. He's not overly athletic, but he has enough to get the job done. I love the power ratios on tape. He has no problem opening up lanes for, ball carriers. He's a bit of a mauler. He's going to use great leverage and overpower you at the same time. And don't sleep on his speed for a big guy. I mean, he also showed decent recovery and decent lateral movement for his size. He's got all the strength and intangibles. He just needs to run a little bit more hot. I need more aggression and consistency in his burst. Biggest weakness of his, just his pad level. He needs to learn to play a tad bit lower. But once he can do that, I see no reason why he can't be a middle-of-the-road starter. So that's my first mock draft with the Giants. I imagine some of you won't like the fact that I took 2 tight ends. I get that's not popular. But right now, a security blanket for Daniel Jones is very important, especially with Sterling Shepard gone for the year. And in these last couple rounds, I just went with BPA. The Giants need to get some young developmental guys in here in key positions. With Kyle Rudolph about to be cut and Evan Ingram gone to free agency, the Giants gotta get that tight end room filled properly. I like Caden Smith, but Ruckert would be a great target for DJ or whoever the quarterback is. So if you told me the Giants would come out of the 2020 draft with a whole new right side of the offensive line and a starting edge rusher and middle linebacker, I'd support it. Not to mention another safety to use in nickel and dime packages. I'm good. I'm good with that. Obviously, free agency would narrow down more realistic mocks, but I just wanted to get one of these out here and get a little antsy. I know it's early. I should have at least 2 more before the draft. I think I'm shooting for 3 of these. But listen, I hope you enjoyed this video. These types of videos take forever to make, so please leave me a like. Appreciate that. I think I scouted at least 25 later round guys for just this video alone. So if you have any suggestions for a future mock draft, let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and stay safe out there, folks.